Good people. You're now tuned in. OG Sonny Blanco, I got a story to tell you, hey? Today, the 6th installment of the series Labels, featuring some of your most iconic and prolific engineers and designers of our time. Today, we'll be featuring Marc ECKO, Stephen BURROWS, and the world-renowned Ralph Lauren. Good people, good work over here. Do me a favor, tell a friend to tell a friend. You heard? Let's get into it. First on the list, Marc ECKO. Born Mark Louis Malkowski, August the 29th, 1972, in Livingston, New Jersey. Mark was born to Jewish parents. His father was a pharmacist and his mother a real estate broker. Mark was raised with his two siblings, an older sister, Shari, and a twin brother, Marky. Now watch this, good people. You see this? This how Mark got the nickname ECKO. They've been calling him ECKO since birth. You see, his parents, they didn't know they were having twins. During the ultrasound, all they saw was Marky. Mark was just an echo on the ultrasound machine, right? So the Malkowskis, they didn't know they were having twins until they were actually born. Hence the nickname ECKO. Later, in 1996, he legally changed the name to ECKO, ECKO, being that he wanted the name to be a brand, and ECKO, ECHO, was copywritten already. He added the stylish K, and north to the races he went. You see, the kids, they went to public school, right? So during Mark's teenage years, he went to school with black kids and Spanish kids. Noticing the style, noticing the swag and the culture, Mark was impressed, right? At this time, Mark transformed his parents' garage into a showroom and studio. Mark was getting to it, you dig? I mean, some was in there making t-shirts. He was making whole outfits. My G was even airbrushing young ladies' nails. Being that he was nice with graffiti, it was nothing for him to put a little design or something on the nails, right? After high school, Mark went to Rutgers University Pharmacy School, following in his father's footsteps. Mark kept doing designs and graffiti, actually submerging himself into it. During his 3rd year of college, Mark was encouraged by the dean, good people, the dean of all people, not a regular counselor, not a teacher. He was encouraged by the dean to take a few months off and explore his talents, because he saw the talent in Mark. He saw he was skilled in the arts. Needless to say, Mark never returned to Rutgers University, right? In 1993, with the financial support of his older sister and a friend, Seth Gersberg, he started ECKO Unlimited. He traveled to Hong Kong to learn about the clothing industry. He started making t-shirts. Those t-shirts gained the attention of famous filmmaker Spike Lee and rap artist Chuck D. Now, with 2 well-known clients in his business, it started to blossom. It also didn't hurt that Good Morning America did a segment featuring his t-shirts. Soon after, Mark expanded the company into hip-hop and skater styles. This is when the famous rhinoceros, you know, the logo with the rhino, that's when the logo began to appear. From there, Mark never looked back. Becoming a big name in urban and skate culture, the company took off. Mark expanded his business to include Complex Magazine and Ventura Capital. Mark was also appointed the board of directors of the Council of Fashion Designers of America, the youngest designer to do so. Salute to that Jewish kid from Jersey, right? Who came up with the fly styles and all of that, right? Salute, Marc ECKO. Good people. Next on the list, Mr. Stephen BURROWS. Born September 15th, 1943 in Newark, New Jersey. to mother Octavia Pennington and father Gerald Burroughs. Stephen was raised by his mother and his grandmother Patrice. You see, Patrice, she was a hell of a seamstress and nice with the sewing machine. So a young Stephen was fascinated by his granny's sewing machine and quickly learned to sew at a young age. You see, Stephen, check this out. At the age of 8, son designed his first garment, right? A little something that he made for a friend's doll. This day would start a lifelong journey in the fashion industry for Stephen. As a high school student, Stephen took dance lessons. His favorite dance was the mambo. On the weekends, he would leave Newark for the big lights of the city. While in Manhattan, he would dance at the Palladium nightclub. There, he would begin sketching dresses that he wanted his dance partners to wear. After graduating from Newark Arts High School, he enrolled at the Philadelphia Museum College of Art, intending to be an art teacher. But check this out, right, good people? You see, Stephen, he made a trip to New York, a little tour to FIT just to check things out, right? The Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. Yo, he was inspired by all the fashion and all the style that he saw. Old Stephen quickly transferred schools. At FIT, he met a fellow student who would become his friend and also his muse, a young, beautiful lady by the name of Betty Davis, who would later become a famous singer. Stephen found himself frustrated with the professors at FIT, who taught rather a basic style of fashion and draping rules. Stephen had no patience for it, right? You see, even back then, son had his own style. He had already established a spontaneous style of cutting at all angles, stretching the edges of the grain, and draping as he went. After graduating in 1966, Stephen went to work for Weber Originals, a blouse manufacturing company. Selling his own designs on the side, he gradually started popping in boutiques and small shops, right? In 1968, he began working with the famous artist Andy Warhol, right? At Max's in Kansas City, also selling his designs at the old boutique. Stephen's designs were described at the time as the whole embodiment of the era, right? Like the sexiness of the era, the electric vibes of the era. His styles had all of that intel denim, right? The woman who wore his styles gave off an aura of creative days and wild nights filled with disco music and glamorous people. Stephen was introduced to Geraldine Stutz, the owner of Henry Bendel, in 1968. Geraldine loved the coat that he wore so much, it was like there was no words needed to be said. As soon as she saw son in his style, and he said that he made the coat, it was a wrap. After the meeting, she gave him his own boutique in the store, right on the spot, you heard? In the fall of '73, Stephen's first lingerie sleepwear collection called Stevie's was introduced at Henry Bendel's. Also, Bonwit Taylor, Lord & Taylor, Bloomingdale's, as well as stores in Chicago and San Francisco. Stephen was one of the 5 designers chosen to showcase their work at the historical fashion show billed as the Battle of the Versailles Fashion Show. He was the youngest of the American designers to show a collection. Farrah Fawcett graced the stage of the Academy Awards in 1978 in one of Stephen's designs, a gold chainmail dress. Brooke Shields in 1981, she appeared on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine in Stephen's designs. Other celebs who loved his style was Barbra Streisand, Cher, The Supremes, Bette Midler, and Jerry Hall. Even the First Lady Michelle Obama wore one of Stevens' jersey pantsuits to an event in D.C., of which Vogue magazine wrote it was a wonderful acknowledgement of Stephen Burrows. Stephen Burrows, one of the greatest American designers, known for his cuts, his technique, and his style. Salute, Stephen Burrows. Good people, there's a famous saying, you gotta save the best for last, right? So with that said, no other than Ralph Lauren. Born Ralph Lifshitz, October 14th, 1939, Bronx, New York. Born to Jewish immigrants, mother Frida Cutler and father Frank Lifshitz, who was an artist and a painter. Ralph was the youngest of 4 siblings, having 2 brothers and 1 sister. Now mind you, good people, this very same Jewish community in the Bronx birthed 2 other famous designers around the same time, one being Calvin Klein and the other Robert Denning. Ralph attended Yeshiva University High School for boys, but eventually graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School in 1957. He went to City University of New York, where he studied business, but dropped out 2 years later. From 1962 to 1964, he served in the United States Army. After his service was over, he went to work briefly for Brooks Brothers as a sales assistant before becoming a salesman for Rivets Necktie Company. In 1967, Ralph went to work for a tie manufacturer, BURROWS, where he convinced the company's president to let him start his own line. Check that out. This started the Ralph Lauren Corporation, specializing in ties. Drawing on his interest in sports, Ralph named his first full line of menswear Polo in 1968. He worked out of a single drawer from a showroom in the Empire State Building and made deliveries to stores himself. In 1969, Bloomingdale's sold Ralph's line exclusively. It was the first time that Bloomingdale's had given a designer their own boutique. In 1971, Ralph Lauren Corporation launched a line of tailored shirts for women, which introduced the polo player logo to the world for the very first time. You heard me, good people, the first time we saw the logo, but it appeared only on the cuff of the shirt. The first full women's collection was launched the following year. That same year, Ralph opened a store on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. This was an iconic move, the first freestanding store for an American designer on Rodeo Drive. In 1972, Ralph introduced a signature cotton mesh polo shirt in various colors, featuring the polo player logo on the chest. Yes, good people, this is when we started to see the logo on the chest. The shirt became the emblem of the preppy look, one of Ralph's signature styles. Ralph was the first for a lot of things in the fashion industry, right? Already told you he was the first at Bloomingdale's. Already told you he was the first freestanding store on Rodeo Drive. So watch this. In 1978, Ralph was the first designer to launch a fragrance. On March 12th, he launched his fragrance for women, and March 26th, his fragrance for men. Again, a first. The first time a designer introduced 2 fragrances, one for women and one for men, simultaneously. The company entered the European market and went international in 1981 with the opening of the first, again good people, the first freestanding store for an American designer on New Bond Street in West End, London, England. From there, the sky was the limit for Ralph, and he never looked back, right? Became a fashion icon, especially in the urban community, which is the perfect segue to the next installment of the label series, titled Lizzie Bag. right? Where we will be featuring no other than the lowlifes and other famous boosters. Good people, I hope you enjoyed. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Good work over here, you heard? Sonny Blanco, I got a story to tell. Easy.